this is Dominic, wedding DJ.
And this is Serena, wedding planner.
And together we are the Wedding Duo. We are here to talk all things weddings.
Planning a wedding can be stressful, but we are here to help.
So before you say, that's it, we're going to Vegas, don't go to Vegas.
Let's have some fun.
Join us as we answer your wedding questions and help navigate planning one of the biggest days of your life with the Wedding Duo.
Welcome back to the Wedding Duo podcast.
Hello.
We are here today for episode, I don't remember. I never remember. 30-something.
30-something. That used to be a show, remember?
Yep, that's true. That's true. And we are here to talk about a very, important, a common topic, right?
Most events, almost every event has some sort of a...
What is it?
Send-off. Oh, there it is. We gave away the topic early this time.
But before we talk about that, I just need to say my hair looks fabulous. If you're watching on YouTube, check out the hair. I spent time on it this morning to do the video, so I needed to point that out. Don't give them the hair jokes. They've heard your hair jokes already.
You set me up for a hair joke. Come on.
No more.
Why don't you ever say something about my hair? Tell me how fabulous my hair looks.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
As always.
This just doesn't happen. Put the eyebrows down there. My hair is ready.
So, guys, this is a topic that comes up with nearly every couple.
It's kind of an afterthought, though, isn't it? They're like, "Are you doing?" Because sometimes at the planning meetings, I'm like, "Are we doing send off sparklers? What are we doing?" They're like, probably."
Yeah.
I mean, it's like all the details. This is just one more. And again, I don't want to feel like we're piling on. The brides are like, "Oh no, now there's more decisions." No, we're just talking through it. That's what we're gonna do.
That is, and we're here to help because we're going to talk about all different options you have for your send off, and also what you might want to be thinking through with your venue and your vendors, all those pieces when it comes to the end of the night.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what this is. This is like a photo op at the end of the night. It's a great way to kick the guests out so we can do that last private dance with just the two of you. Because without a send off of some sort, it's really hard to it's hard to clear the room with a send off where I've made 3 or 4 announcements like, okay, everybody, we want everybody in the picture. Please head out front, grab a sparkler from your planner. And then the last one I say is so we're doing a dance with just a couple. So y'all got to get out. Let's go. I mean, that's
it can be challenging. It can be challenging. People don't listen. They are sometimes drunk.
Yeah.
They don't think it applies to them.
Where's my purse? Where's my shoes?
True.
Where's your jacket? We got to turn that rental in tomorrow. I mean, all that stuff, right?
That all happens. So it's helpful if you have your coordinator or the venue manager, someone DJ? Going table to table. Well, of course, the DJ. You already talked about your part. Okay. I'm talking about my part. Okay. Here we go.
It's all about me.
You're going to want that assistance to, like he said, get everybody out of the room if you're going to do that private last dance. And what's helpful about the send-off is then they have something to do. They're out there getting ready for the send-off. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, of course, the most popular send-off
far and away,
sparklers, right?
Pre-mentioned sparklers.
Did we mention sparklers? We didn't mention sparklers.
I mentioned it.
When?
I said, what are we doing? A sparkler send-off? Just now when I was talking about when I was having my
I don't listen to
my imaginary meeting with the couple just then.
Got it. So the reason sparklers, I think, are so popular is the photos are fantastic. Mm-hmm. They are really great. Obviously, they catch that image of you guys walking through the sparklers. Sometimes they'll have you stop mid-aisle and do a dip and a kiss. And it's fabulous. I get it, right?
They're not super expensive.
No.
They're, but yeah, so because some of the other things we're doing, we're going to mention, usually it's dark.
That's true.
So that's a factor.
Right.
That's not a factor with sparklers because they're showing up.
They're showing up outside.
Show up. It's like your good, steady friend. They're going to show up.
In the pictures, right? But the thing about sparklers,
thing, but there you go. Yeah, they'll show up.
Right. The thing about sparklers is they're dangerous, and sometimes they're not allowed in certain spaces. So the first thing you're going to want to do if you're doing a sparkler send off is check with your venue. Where can you do it? Can you do it at all?
Is there a burn ban? That's the thing we have here in Texas.
We
got a burn ban.
Right. And so that's something definitely to make sure of. And your venue usually is pretty clear on what they will and won't allow. So you probably know that already.
Most sparklers are usually pretty mild as far as the pyrotechnics that you're asking to bring in. So
true.
I rarely is it an issue, but definitely it could be. So you don't want to assume, right?
No, don't assume. The other thing to consider with sparklers is it takes some orchestration. Okay. And I'm going to say that from a planner's perspective, when I am getting everyone lined up for sparklers, remember, I've got all these, sometimes drunk, rowdy people. It is the only time I bring out my mom voice and get in the middle of the line and start yelling instructions, because I really need to make sure people are listening. I don't want them to light the sparklers too early. No one should be getting their lighter out of their pocket and starting without me. The other thing is I tell them how to hold the sparkler up and out so that they don't catch the bride's hair on fire.
Or poke the groom in the eye with a flaming sword.
True.
With 25 hit points.
There are instructions that go along with the sparklers. Someone needs to instruct the masses on how to use the sparklers. The other thing is...
You didn't like my little Dungeons & Dragons reference there?
I didn't even know what you were talking about. I said
25 hit points or whatever. I don't know. I played a long time ago when I was a child. So for those of you out there that are still playing, they're like, what? That doesn't even... I'm sorry. I apologize to all the D&D fans. Go ahead.
Okay. You love to throw me off with your randomness, because now I don't know what I was talking about. No, actually I do. After the sparkler send-off, what do we do with the sparklers, right? So this is another piece. It is really helpful, or really essential, to have something to put the sparklers out in. And water doesn't work necessarily. Plastic bucket will melt. So what you want is a metal bucket with sand. That is the best route to take for putting the sparklers out. They will burn out themselves. So
they're still hot for a long time, as everybody's messed with the sparklers, right? They know that, you don't want to touch it when it's burning or right after, whatever, but the kids don't know that. So there's kids around. That's always a factor. But the big thing with letting them burn out is you have the little ones, and you're lucky if they even last through the send-off, right? That's like you're already up against it. But the long ones, 5 minutes?
The longest ones, I think, last like 3 to 5 maybe.
Oh,
it's a long time.
At least a good 3.
We recommend at least a 20-inch sparkler. That's where I tell my couples is kind of, at least that length of a sparkler. Because
but then that's the problem, where they're going to be going for plenty long enough. And then you've got the drunk cousins having a lightsaber battle in the back, and you're like, hey.
Well, that's why the instructions are important. Yes, once you're done with the photos, we are putting the sparklers in the bucket with the sand, right? This is where that comes into play. And the reason we want the longer sparkler is that it allows a little bit of wiggle room for you guys are inside doing your private dance. Okay, well, that's going to last, a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Then we've got to grab your phone, your purse, whatever, and get you out. So we need to make sure that those sparklers get lit at the right point and time, and we have enough burn time left.
That's a massive thing. I mean, I just did a video on this and it's doing pretty well, because I talked just about that. My announcement at the end of the night is like, congratulations one more time, you newlyweds. Everybody's like, yay. And I go, okay, we're going to head out front for a sparkler send-off. Go grab a sparkler from Serena. She's going to be handing them out at the door. Please don't light the sparkler. I say it 3 times. Like, somebody is bound to light. All it takes is one person to light it. And then, we're supposed to light them. And then now, the bride and groom come out to a bunch of glowing red metal bars that are not lit because they burned out already.
True. So again, this is all helpful information. If you have a planner coordinator, they will be, on top of this. This is something I do every event. And it's just, it takes a little bit of effort. It really is a part of the day that I am a big part of, because I want to make sure it's safe and that, the pictures come out really great. So these are all things to consider if you're doing sparkler send-off.
So we talked about extinguishing the sparklers. The other challenge often.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about
the doggone thing.
So that is such a good point. So recently he had a wedding, and I was not the planner.
Recently, it was
last weekend,
past Saturday,
and they had matches attached to the sparkler. And the issue with the match is,
but it was cute. What did it say? It had a little sign that said
"Let Love Sparkle." Or
no, it said something about
I don't remember.
Light our. I think it was something about fire, love, something. I don't remember. Something cute. Fill in the blank with something cute that sounds like.
Right. So the thing about that is traditional lighters, matches, even like a candle, they don't light the sparklers very well.
A candle is the best of those options, though, because a match will burn your finger. The old school lighters that you were like lighting a cigarette or something. If you have the big long ones that click, click, click.
They don't work very well either.
It just takes a long time.
It does. For some reason, they don't like that flame. But if you have like a torch lighter, I have torch lighters, butane lighters. Those work fantastic. Now, the other thing that's great is that sparklers light sparklers very well too. So I usually have myself at one end, my assistant at the other end. We start with one person, and then it takes not very long to light the lines because people are going to light their neighbor.
Pass it down. It was somebody commented on the video that I did. They said, "Oh, we did that at our wedding. Somebody knocked a bucket over, and one of the matches lit." And I'm like, "Did that happen?" Because, and then I thought she didn't go there, but saying like, and then the sparkler lit. I go, "Well, that would have been the first time in history a match actually ever lit a sparkler."
Right.
But because even as I texted you were like, "We shouldn't post this because the planners are going to get upset because they don't want the people to light the sparkler." And I'm like, "Well, one, that little match is not. There's a highly unlikely that match would ever light any of those sparklers." But it was a good point. So we talked through it on the video because this is exactly it. Like, you don't want people lighting them early because that's a thing.
It is a thing. It's definitely the timing involved is super important.
And what happens is the bride and groom are in the middle of the dance and they look over their shoulder and they see the sparklers lit. And all of a sudden they're like, I was one of them, like, don't light them. Let the couple have that moment. Because that is a beautiful, fantastic. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, we line everybody up outside. We shut the doors and the bride and groom, or the couple, the newlyweds, get one last dance. And it is such a perfect moment because all the stress is like gone. You're really enjoying the fact that you're like, wow, we did it, babe. You know, like we're married, but the day's not quite done. You're still in your dress. He's still in the suit or whatever. And you get that last moment where you either dance to your first dance again, or you have another song that's special to you and you dance to it there. It's arguably the best part of the night.
Okay. I agree.
Oh, it's so
But
good.
there's another point to be made here that you are not on the end of. There is 100 plus drunk, cold.
I know.
Guests outside waiting, and they're sitting there staring at me saying like, are we going to light them? Like, what are you doing? Right. So there's this balance between making sure that the bride and groom, the couple, has that moment and also getting on with the send off. Totally. So we need to make sure that is like,
if the couple picked a 6-minute song, I'm like, we're going to have to, this past weekend, it was really cold and everybody went outside and we did a fake send off or a faux send off, which is another thing we'll talk about here in a second. So people wanted to come back in. And I'm like, hang on, just let them have just a moment. Just a moment.
It's just a little bit of a balance, right? You just really need to make sure. And again, it's helpful to have your coordinator, your planner there so that they can be paying attention to that, right? So as you mentioned, and so we'll talk about it now, the fake send-off, the faux send-off. What are the reasons one would do a faux send-off? And what we're talking about is it's not actually the end of the night. It's an hour, 2 hours before, and you basically have a send-off for the photos.
Yeah, well, that's usually why, because the photographer is not there for the whole night. Photographer is leaving at some point, but you want that picture, and it's a beautiful picture. But what happens a lot is they say, "Okay, stop the party, bring the lights up, everybody grab your jacket, head outside, line up, do the picture, and then bring everybody back in and try to get the party out of the going again."
Yeah, it's
for
hard.
me, and this isn't again me being selfish. The party runs on momentum. The dance floor runs on momentum. And you've all seen it. When you stop, it's like, okay, everybody stops dancing. They move on. But then I gotta come on, here we go. Get the train moving again. It doesn't happen. It's not like flipping a switch. So I'm not a huge fan of them.
No, but there's reasons they happen. And we get that, right? So as he mentioned, you may have contracted your photographer for a certain amount of time that doesn't lend itself to them being there at the end. So that's why you would do the faux send-off.
And it might be smart because photographers tends to be a heavy part of the budget, right?
Sure.
And if you're going to have a 4-hour dance party, just waiting for that last shot, because there's only so many dancing pictures they can take. Usually, I try to give them more stuff by getting out there and being silly and getting a big crowd going or whatever the song is I'm doing. But they can get their dancing pictures in about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And people don't always buy the dancing pictures. They're nice to see them. And like, oh, good Uncle Charlie, he's got this stupid hat.
Well, it depends on. You say that's like kind of an old school thing is buying the photos. Most photographers, you get like the gallery.
Maybe you get the whole gallery, but anyway, they're not going on the mantle is my point. You're probably not going to frame the dancing picture.
We love the dancing pictures as a DJ company. I love
for social media. They're fantastic, which I guess is a good thing. But my point was you're paying a lot for that time of that photographer, but you really want that send-off picture. And that's why you do it. So what else could they do? Have their cake and eat it too.
There is a kind of happy medium. And what I suggest to couples is that we, at that point, earlier in the night when we're going to do the faux send-off, we don't have it announced and we don't grab the entire guest count. We only get your wedding party, maybe your parents, siblings. We get a group that is big enough to create that photo that you want.
Because you don't need many.
You don't need a ton of people. to make the picture look fantastic. And that way, your wedding party and your family are going to stick around till the end. So you don't worry about losing the rest of your guests.
Yeah. And and to the point of how many people, because this is what happened Saturday. We weren't going to have a faux send-off or fake send-off, but a couple of people left and the mom came up like, we got to do the send-off because people are leaving. And I looked around the room like, there's nights where, you've seen like, whoa, we're really thinning out. I always take it personally because I'm like, the party's not good enough. But sometimes people leave and sometimes you can really notice. But it wasn't the case. And I was like, no, we have plenty of people because we don't need too many people. That's the point, is you can bring out 6 people on each side. And that picture, the people in the background are blurred out. You'll see the sparklers, right? But it's a couple.
I usually like more than that. I usually like 10 on each side.
For sure. And you can have 100 people out there and it looks fantastic, but you don't need it to capture that picture. So if you're going to do the fake send off, don't have the DJ announce it. Just grab that many people.
Right. Yeah. Whatever we've kind of decided on beforehand. And that's just a great way to handle it. If you're kind of stuck in that place of, we really need to do the fake send off, but we're worried about the party dying off after that. So let's move on to some other options. So we've kind of talked about sparklers, as the big heavy hitter there, but
that and rice, right? Everybody's throwing rice.
Nobody is throwing rice.
Not since the 50s. Not since the bird union got involved and they said, we're all having it. Wasn't that the wives' tale? The birds eat the rice and it expands in their stomach and they die. Or something?
I don't know. It may not be a wives' tale. It may be true. I have no idea.
I don't know.
Why.
But that was the theory on the street.
But it is. I don't think I've ever had a couple throw rice. So we're not going to discuss that because that doesn't apply. But some other really fantastic options. The first one we're going to talk about is great because, as we referenced earlier, sparklers are fantastic because they light up the photos. You see them in the pictures if you're outside. There are, and we've mentioned this in previous podcasts, these, we call them like LED wands, right? They look like, you always say, like a little pool noodle, and they kind of move and dance, different colors, light up.
3 settings.
And you can use them. The great thing is you can use them during your dance party as a fun accessory that people love to have these things during the dance party. I think
everybody's probably seen them now because they are very popular.
They are.
A couple years ago, not so much, but now they're like, gosh, every other wedding, I think I see them.
Right. And so you can actually then use those, pass them out for your send-off. And they look fantastic. They light up just, like we were referencing. And they're a lot of fun.
People love them. Like once we bust them out, like I get mobbed at the front. I'm like, hang on, I got to take the little tab out and turn them on and hand them out. But while DJing.
So something that I suggest is if I'm there as a coordinator and I've got my assistant, it's nice to have like a basket or two. If you don't have assistants, definitely have somewhere where they're out that people can access them, right? If they get put in a box and stuffed away somewhere, then they're not going to get out during dancing. So
some of them come in little plastic sleeves too. So if you have somebody beforehand, take all that stuff out.
Right.
And pull the little tabs out if you can, because it's just otherwise
it's time consuming.
And it takes a while because everyone's trying to dance. I'm trying to do it in between songs, and that has been put all on me. People have given me LED, the glow sticks where you got to break them and shake them. You crack them and whatever, like the necklaces and all that stuff.
Right.
And they just give me the box. I'm like,
I'm DJing.
Okay, I'm DJing. I'm trying to do this between songs and crack them and like make a little necklace for the flower girl, whatever. I'm trying to. I try to help. I try.
We do. But so if you don't have like a planner coordinator that's like running this, have your maid of honor, your bridal party, like get them involved, have them help, hand them out.
Aunt Betty's not doing nothing.
Totally get some help so that everyone gets one because they're a lot of fun. And then again, they can work for your send off. The other item that I see, and I don't see this a ton, and I'll tell you why I think it is bubbles. Okay. We're going to talk about bubbles. Now, this is actually another question for your venue. Do they allow bubbles? Because, and this usually is like the hotels, if you're doing your send off indoors, for example, the bubbles make the floor sticky. So they're not going to allow them. And slippery,
it's
right?
It's like the slippery thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a bubble machine one time on the side of a dance floor, and it was really concentrated in that corner, and it was like an ice skating rink in that corner because the bubbles just kept popping right there. And that stuff is slippery.
So something that I see too is that they'll get the little tiny, like microscopic bubble bottle. And those really aren't sufficient. You're not going to see those in photos. They don't produce a ton of bubbles. So I always say, like, get more substantial bubbles. A bubble machine is also helpful if you're going to use it for your send-off, just so that you really get that really cool bubble effect.
Yeah. And sometimes they do, and talk to your photographer about this. Sometimes with the lighting, they'll see some bubbles. But if it's really dark, that's another one that's like, if there's no porch light or whatever, for lack of a better, or any lighting out there, the bubbles get lost a little bit. But photographers are very creative with their lighting.
Absolutely. And they can help you talk through, whatever you're utilizing for your send off, like what is going to look good, depending on where you are doing the send off. So bubbles, fantastic. And this kind of lends me to a conversation I wanted to have about doing a send off like at your ceremony, right? And I just want to kind of touch on this.
It's a conversation you want to have with me or with them?
Well, with you, for them.
Oh. I was gonna say, we live together. We could have had this conversation at any time, and you're like hanging on to it.
No, I think it's come up quite a bit.
Have we told that? Do people know we're married? I think they know we're married.
I think they do know. It's Valentine's Day, by the way.
Yeah, I know. We're recording this on Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's.
Happy Valentine's. I got a really cute handmade card this morning from him. It's absolutely adorable, and it made my day.
Late last night, cutting little hearts out of red paper to
oh my gosh, it's so cute.
Glue them into pink paper, and then I put a little smiley face with the tongue. I always have the tongue coming out. It's like my thing. It's like my calling card.
Really cute, you guys. Really cute. Strive for this in your marriage. Handmade cards 10 years later. Okay.
Boom.
So something that has come up from couples is, hey, we're going to do kind of a send off as we recess down the aisle. Now, it's not necessarily the same as like your end of the night send off, and you can do both. But something that I think works well, that's where the bubbles work well, I think, because it's still light. Okay. And you can put the little bubble containers like on the chairs at your ceremony.
It's pretty cute.
It is cute. Or
people are still sober. They can figure out how to operate
this is true
mechanism.
Right. They can also do like flower petals. I've had couples do either like the cones, like full of flowers, or a little baggie full of flower petals, and they can throw the petals. Something to be mindful of, though. Talk to your venue. Again, I'm going to, reiterate this, because if they are fake petals, you're going to need to pick them up.
Somebody's picking them up. Well, even the
real petals, ones, sometimes you got to pick up.
Well, if they have a wedding the next day, when the flower petals get walked on, it's not pretty. It's kind of, they get mashed in the ground, and they're kind of, and those can also be slippery on the dance floor and stuff. But yeah, or the other thing I've seen people have like those little cones of birdseed where they go, whoosh. Yeah. I've seen the birdseed. It was a send off, actually. Was that you and I, New Year's Eve?
Yes.
Yeah. Down on the river downtown San Antonio, they threw birdseed everybody.
And then of course that works well because the birds will eat it and it won't expand like the rice. I don't.
Yeah, but it really, you couldn't really see. It was fun for the guests, but it was like the groom, who had about as much hair as me, was digging birdseed out of his hair. And I was like, dude, you barely have more hair than me. But yeah, so it was fun. That was a fun thing.
Yeah. So that's something that comes up often, like creating that moment, that picture at the end of the ceremony. What is important about that from a planner's perspective is that the guests know what they're doing, right? Like they need to get the memo, whether it's announced by the officiant or the DJ at the beginning. Hey guys, we're going to, you've got an item sitting on your seat. We're going to throw that after they say I do, just so that everybody's on the same page and they're not confused about what's happening.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah. And it is pretty cute. It's fun. But the guests really enjoy it.
They do. And great pictures. Again, great pictures. So let's ramble through a few other items.
Yeah. So some people do a streamer on a stick, which is like a little short stick, and they have streamers connected to the end. It's like
very colorful. Sometimes they have little bells too, so it like makes it like.
I've seen it at a lot of the Latin weddings. It seems like that's like a Latin thing, the streamer on a stick. But I've seen balloons on a stick.
I've seen LED balloons, meaning like there's a light inside the balloon that it lights up. So that's extra, right? Fancy.
It is.
Expensive. I'll tell you right now, especially if you've got a large guest count. Can you imagine how many of those you need?
And this is me being Mr. Safety, a little bit dangerous because it says on the package, be careful if the balloon pops, that little LED light becomes a projectile. And I don't know if you remember this, our middle child was sitting on one. It popped, hit him right between the nose, right between the eyes.
Oh, that's
and
right.
He had this giant knot. I'm like, we're never having those in the house again. It freaked me out. But anyway.
If you guys don't know this, Dominic, my husband here, is Mr. Safety. Our children are very safe, and he's proud of that.
I don't wrap them in bubble wrap. I'm just, those apples fell close to the tree, and I was a very dangerous, thrill-seeking. Yeah. Not good.
No, we understand. It's okay. It's good.
There's new streamers though that I've seen recently.
That's true.
and they're kind of like they pop and they go really far, but
they stay attached the thing. So that means when, hopefully, your guests are done popping them and you've got the photo, you've done the send off, they can just throw them in the trash bin.
Well, they collect them pretty easy, but I've seen one that had a can and they held onto the can and it popped out and they just held onto the can. And I had one, you had one that went on the finger or something?
Yes. Like so there's another kind of version where it's like almost like a ring that goes on your finger and the guests kind of throw it out at the guests or at the couple. And then it stays attached to the ring so that, again, they can dispose of it. Because the idea is that streamers, as you can imagine, the traditional ones, if you're popping streamers, then there's streamers everywhere. No venue is going to want that.
But it's kind of the picture for those, some people may have seen this, but they're the silver ones that I've seen. And if everybody's like bunched up, you can't even see the couple. They're just buried in this ball of silver streamer.
True.
And it's fun. But those pictures, you got to get the picture while it's still in the air before it like drops on them, because then they're just buried trying to dig out of it. But
yes, so that's a good thing to kind of help organize too, is like, let's space people out so that we're not all like burying the couple in, this mound of streamers, so that you want to get the good right picture.
Can we talk tortillas now?
Oh my gosh. So this is
this is for all you crazy Texas Tech people out there. The Texas Tech people have a tradition where at their football games, basketball games, whatever, they throw tortillas.
Yes.
I don't know the backstory on this, but they throw tortillas, and the couple, this was, it's been a couple years now, but they met at school at Texas Tech, and they threw, as they walked out, they were going to throw tortillas, which was a great idea.
Fantastic.
Very fun, very much them, because I always say personalize it. But I was like, wait a second. I remember sitting there, the photographer was already back at the end. I go, wait a second. I told the guest, I go, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and we're all going to throw them at the same time. Otherwise,
to get the good photo.
To get that picture. Otherwise, they're all going to go up. And then the last thing I said is like, okay, throw them up, not at. And sure enough, I said 1, 2, and the bride walked out and she had an open back dress and smack. And I'm like, who threw that right on her back? And she was like, ow. And then 3, and they all went up. And it was a pretty cool picture. And I think you have to like chew the middle out, or you have to put a circle in the middle.
Make like a face in the tortilla?
Not a face. I think it flies better or something. I don't know.
Wow. We'll have to research
Texas
this.
Tech folks.
But the point is fun, right? Like that's silly and fun and crazy.
And them, it was all about you, which we always say. Bring it back. There's no rules. Do you?
Yeah. So the thing about send-offs too, guys, is you want some help facilitating them. I kind of mentioned that at the beginning. And you want to make sure that if you're doing that private dance, that you give, good instructions, that everybody has the items that they need for the send off. It's just important to have some structure there. Otherwise it can get a little chaotic, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely. And it's always something where you're like, okay, we're getting close. Find the sparklers.
Yes.
Get the people ready that are going to help. And then it's like, before you make that announcement, that way just kind of streamlines the whole process, right?
Exactly. That's so true. So guys, I'm going to mention a few things that I mention every podcast. Thank you, first of all, for listening.
Yes, thank you.
You guys are so wonderful. And the reason that we do what we do, if you don't already, you can check us out on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, where you can watch these episodes. If you enjoy our podcast, we'd love a review. We've had some really great ones lately, and thank you so much for those that have written reviews.
Good review? Should we say that? We'd love a good
review. They're good.
We'd love a good review. If you can't stand it, sorry.
You're right. The other thing is our website, theweddingduo.co. It's .co, not .com. I swear we've lost a ton of business because people are sending emails to .com. But we have virtual resources, one-on-one planning that we do, and we can help a lot more with the process just through all the stuff, our podcast, obviously, and all the other good things, our blog, our posts. So
it's a lot.
We understand that planning your wedding is overwhelming at times, but we're here to help. And we'll end our podcast the way we always do.
It is a very personal day, as you all know. We say it all the time. But don't let anybody talk you into something you don't want to do, or talk you out of something you have your heart set on. It's your day. Look at your fiance and the two of you figure it out.
You do you to the max.
As best you can. I know that's not it's easier said than done in some scenarios, but do your best. Should we blow a kiss?
We will say happy wedding planning. Oh.
This is our send-off. We're doing a send-off on the send-off.
We're doing
topic.
A kissy send-off.
Kissing send-off. We could do kissing send-offs. That's be a fun one. Everybody blows a kiss. No, that's a dumb idea. Don't do that.
Yeah, I
was brainstorming.
It's cute, but it doesn't work in the real world.
All right.
All right, you guys.
Thanks
Happy
again.
wedding planning.
Bye.
Bye.
Mwah. Hey, so thanks for listening to our podcast. If you found any of this information helpful and you know someone who may be engaged or is a maid of honor, maybe you could tell them and share it with a friend.
Absolutely. So screenshot this episode, share it on Instagram, on Facebook, and tag the wedding duo. We promise to share the love back. Also, if you are interested in more resources or the show notes, you can go to theweddingduo.co. We have one-on-one virtual sessions, a shop, all sorts of fun stuff. Check it out.